So let's have a deeper look at the panel and their response so far, 2 days after BTS's announcement to ultimately boycott the 2027 Grammys. Starting off with the Grammys official Instagram account, where the Grammy CEO Harvey Mason Jr. said the following: "I am saddened to hear that BTS have chosen not to participate in the Grammy Awards process this year, but as a music creator I can understand and respect their decision. I do want to clarify something that seems to be getting lost in conversation. The Asian pop category was created to celebrate depth, diversity and extraordinary growth of pop artistry coming out of Asia. The spirit of this new category is to shine a dedicated spotlight on these important artists. More categories means more artists' work is recognised." I have to stop reading here just to criticise the idiocy of this statement so far, specifically the line that the new Grammy categories aim to give more recognition to Asian artists' work. Respectfully, BTS don't need any more recognition, and they definitely don't need it from the Grammys. I mean, the Arirang album statistics so far speak for itself, and in 2021, the Grammys got 8 million live viewers. Then guess who went on to live on Weverse shortly after and had over 10 million live viewers? I'll give you a hint, it's BTS. I mean, to me it just seems like Harvey's statement so far is him pretending like K-culture is only a recent growing phenomenon. It appears like he can't acknowledge it's more than a growing thing and it's already established and even beating American awards. It's so obvious that BTS are being pigeonholed into this category. In the past, they've been up against global artists like Taylor Swift, Bruno Mars, Harry Styles, and even Justin Bieber. Yet suddenly the Grammys have point blank separated them from these major artists, which just diminishes their achievements. Also, I just have to point out the passive aggressiveness in this statement and how it clearly shows that actions speak louder than words, because since BTS's announcement to not submit in the 2027 Grammys, the Grammys have actually had the audacity to remove all BTS performances from official accounts like YouTube and their website. Keep in mind, these were their most viewed videos of all time, so I just find it very hard to believe that Harvey is understanding and respectful of their decision as his statement claims. The comments under the post speak for itself. Didn't they do the same when Beyoncé won? Yep, they did. Why not make British pop? This is genuinely a fair point that people are making, because when European white artists win the Grammys, they don't go on to make new categories like British pop or Scandinavian pop. But when a non-English speaking act comes along, suddenly we have 5 new categories. Mind you, all of them in some way target and separate non-white artists. Next up, we need to discuss the various claims and ideas stated by an actual Grammy panel member who votes. Let me introduce you to Zena Koda. I have to quickly mention that since putting out her hideous rant on Instagram, she has since privated her account, which isn't too surprising and already indicates to me that her statement isn't valid or reasonable. People who actually have a point to make don't private their account shortly after. It's a sign of being a wuss. So, Zena Koda is a music industry veteran and a marketing executive. She's the co-founder of the Asian American Collective, which is a community focused on building connections and representation for Asian Americans in creative spaces. Professionally, she has held significant roles at major music companies, which include Senior Director of Digital Marketing at Atlantic Records, which has artists such as Ed Sheeran, Cardi B and Bruno Mars signed to it. As of 2026, she is a member of the advisory committee for the Recording Academy's Gold Music Alliance. Therefore, she was one of the people instrumental in pushing for the creation of the new category Best Asian Pop Performance. Now that that's out the way, let's discuss and unpack what she's actually claimed about BTS's decision to withdraw from the 2027 Grammys. People don't understand the complications of trying to change and evolve Grammy categories, and what the aim was in general of trying to introduce Asians as a formidable force within the Grammys. It's really sad and disheartening to see how this entire thing has been addressed when so many people behind the scenes have been trying to push for visibility for Asians in the Grammys, none of which has existed before. Yeah, it's not existed before because you keep making new categories every time someone wins a major one. Anyways, carrying on, she says, and landing on some form of representation was a real mission for a lot of us. This new category and nothing is perfect, and in its first iteration, in many ways this wasn't a category for BTS at all. Now I can't say this with 100% certainty, however I am just so confident that if BTS did decide to submit for the 2027 Grammys, then they would have won in the new category, Best Asian Pop Performance, and not the major ones. But her rank continues nonetheless. This was for artists that need more visibility and shine, not decades of deep pop superstars. BTS have always had the ability to apply to another pop category, and a lot of people are missing the fact that it's not the public that makes these decisions. It's a vetted group of music professionals and artists in a membership community that genuinely and deeply cares about representation. I just have so many issues with this part in particular. BTS's statements on Instagram were extremely professional and didn't directly or explicitly put blame onto anyone, and this is what I respect. But what I can't respect is when someone comes online to make a rant, labelling themselves as the professional, yet speaks in such a passive and ticked-off manner. It's simply not professional from Zeena here, and it reflects on the entirety of the academy, I think. She claims that it's professionals and experts who makes these decisions, but so what? She has given no evidence that they deeply care about representation. She's just saying it and hoping we believe it because she labels herself as a higher status than the public, which is just insane, and somehow she's still not done. The irony of this entire thing was all of this was done to bring us closer together and to feel proud of the accomplishments of Asian pop artists have made to the culture and continue paving the way for future generations of artists. Now, I really have a bone to pick with this part too. For someone who claims to care so much about Asian representation, I find it interesting that the new category specifically states, including but not limited to K-pop, J-pop and C-pop. Now I know that they said not limited to, but that doesn't diminish the fact that they only gave examples of East Asian countries. India, for example, has one of the highest populations of people, therefore Indian artists are huge. Arjit Singh has over 180 million followers on Spotify, yet I don't see any Grammy coverage about that. I'm just so shocked that they could even think to make a category so broad and vast. I mean, Asia is literally made up of 50 separate countries with differing languages, cultures and music. Grouping them as one means that you're stripping them of their representation opportunities. You're not giving them. But guess what? The rant is still not over. Instead, it's become a press campaign driven off a narrative that 100% was not the aim of creating this category. Why do I have a leg to stand on? Because I was one of the people pushing to gain a category on the committee. The intent was always to help honour at the highest level at the academy, and that was clearly missed in the shuffle of this very baited argument. I'm also aware that pop is not the only category that Asian artists exist in, but this was always meant to be the first steps in a broader direction to give us more voice and power. So now Zeena is actually making accusations, claiming that BTS have some sort of press campaign against the Grammys. I mean, the utter ignorance here is unbelievable. She's totally tone deaf and caught up in being some sort of saviour for Asian people, that she fails to acknowledge that despite having good intentions, things can still play out in a negative way. Now this is the part where I really have problems, because she outright states, "Instead, we have been torn down by one of the biggest Asian artists, and what makes me really sad is that there could have been a more meaningful conversation on the back end to understand what the actual aim of this was and to have a dialogue versus taking a bold move like this to get more press." Literally speechless by this. This woman really thinks she is owed some lengthy dialogue by BTS for not submitting their work into the Grammys. Keep in mind, all BTS gave was short, professional and concise statements, yet she claims that they were torn down. Also, so what if they wanted more press? I mean, it seems pretty reasonable to me after foreign artists win awards, then new categories become created as a result. There's been multiple big artists who have spoken out against the Grammys and made some pretty bold claims in the past as well, yet I don't see Zena Koda hopping on their dick too. And oh my god, it's still not over. She goes on to say, "When people talk about community and moving their community, I am one of the people who has literally sacrificed my life to do that for others in the Asian creative community, in real life and not just on the internet. Situations like this really make me question if we can ever really truly be united as one front." Again, just a tone-deaf rant. She seems to be placing herself on some sort of pedestal just because she does stuff in real life and not on the internet. But do you realise how much of a privilege it is to be able to do this in person? She acts like it makes her more superior in some way, which goes back to my belief that she wants to be seen as some sort of saviour or white knight for Asian people. Also, the irony of saying united as one front, yet creates a category based on people's ethnicity. May I remind you, the category is quite literally called Best Asian Pop. A sad day for many of us who put a lot of blood, sweat and tears into really trying to move things forward, felt like we were making incremental steps, and then torn down by a bunch of people on the internet who don't understand how voting faction and nomination processes actually work. Nothing there has been changed, and this category was not meant to be a final solve, but a step in the right direction. Then she carries on with a fourth Instagram story, concluding with, "It's easy to talk about what change needs to be done and made on the internet, but it takes real guts and dedication to be on the front lines and try to make systemic change on the front lines." She really needs to stop repeating the word front lines as if she's some sort of soldier fighting for war, because that's not what this is. Don't get me wrong, I can understand where she's coming from, and considering her involvement in helping Asians in the past, she probably did have good intentions with making the category, but how on earth are you going to ignore the real, authentic voices of the biggest Asian artists that you claim to want to help? I mean, from what we can see so far, the Grammy panel are not on BTS's side, nor even willing to understand it from their viewpoint, who have faced discrimination in award shows for years now.